Welcome to your iconic image. If you want to take control of your image and be a power player in your space, then this is the show for you. Here we will arm you with tools and information to help you grow your brand on purpose. I'm your host, Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Now let's dive into today's episode. Danny Rosin is a timeless community builder who likes doing things that matter. He's co-founder of the company Brand Fuel, but also has a hand in Promo Kitchen, Promo Cares, Reciprocity Road, Operation Smile, A Place at the Table, and Band Together. He's happiest when there is a mix of philanthropy, music, marketing, and familying. As a married father of 2 teenage daughters, he has come to grips with the idea that well-behaved women rarely make history, but they learned that from him, along with how to lead a life of purpose. Welcome, Danny.
Thanks for having me. It's nice to hear that. The word familying is not a real word, but I want it to be. I want it to be a verb. Family.
I think you have made it one. I really do. In knowing the things that you have done and put together.
It's nice. That's the one thing that I hope, you think about legacy. I think Band Together, the work that I've been involved in with that organization is definitely the stuff of legacy, but the family, I just hope, our kids look back one day and all the trials and tribulations of parenting and being invested in that, shines a light on these girls. And they say, Dad and Mom did a good job. That's all I'm looking for.
Well, it's actually kind of funny to watch you on this journey with them, because I feel like sometimes it's kind of like you being on a wild bucking horse and you're just trying to hold on and keep the reins in your hand.
Yeah, it's so true. There's, I've got a wild bucking horse as an older daughter and a little bit more calm daughter as a younger daughter. They're 15 and 18. And so they're complete opposites. I am more like my oldest daughter, the wild bucking horse. Mm-hmm. And so I think we relate to each other a lot more, which allows my relationship with my wife to either flourish because I can step in and say, I know what Brooke is going through, or there's just a lot more tension there because we don't see eye to eye, and my wife doesn't understand because that's not who she ever was. She's got a little wild side, but not like Brooke or myself.
And, it's interesting to me because you have taken that wild side, and anybody that reads any of your history or even some of the things that you reveal in posts that you do, you've taken it and put the reins on it, and to a large degree, and directed it in ways that matter. So how is that a struggle for you to do, or do you?
It's not a struggle for me. It's a struggle for my wife and sometimes my daughters. Just for example, I posted this great video of my youngest daughter. I took her to where I went to college at UNC Chapel Hill. A band we both love was playing. I was involved in helping book the band, and also it was a big fundraiser, so raising money for the Children's Hospital. And I was like, you should go. We'll have a good time. And she separated and went to go hang out with her friends on the front row, which is where I would normally be, watching the Future Birds. And I was kind of to the side of the stage, and I could see her, and she was living her best life, just dancing and just having so much fun. And the band was engaging with her, and I got a lump in my throat thinking about it because, these are the special moments in life. Like, it was kind of a dad moment. And so I grabbed my camera and I videotaped it, and I thought it was just so great. And I put it out on Instagram. You can still find it on my page. I didn't lose the battle when they're like, you've got to take that down, of Brooke really rocking out. But I get pushback for, I think from time to time, exposing the truth, and being vulnerable and honest about maybe, the crazy daughter, or, this recent one that I think you may be, talking about is the getting arrested story. So just a quick note about that story. I was recognized by the Triangle Business Journal as this corporate philanthropist, which is, it's a great honor to be recognized in that way. And Hannah from Band Together had submitted my name. And so just knowing the work that we do together and the work that she does on the front lines every day just gives me a tremendous amount of pride. And a lot of people were reaching out and saying, congratulations. And my head is getting bigger and my wife is rolling her eyes, all the while she knows how hard I work. very soon thereafter, I decided to post the story about getting arrested in 1988. And that, I guess the moral of the story in context to what you said is that, idiots, troublemakers, pranksters, people who maybe have a dark past can shine, can work really hard at trying to, recreate their story. What's important to them, they can find that. And I've been really fortunate to be able to do that. And so this whole story about me getting arrested and apologizing to NC State for painting their bell tower when I was 20 years old, it's kind of my way of saying, like, hey, everybody, like, I'm not all that it looks like in the newspaper and all these accolades that you read in the beginning. I do all that, but I still make lots of mistakes, still a troublemaker. I feel like I'm a 15-year-old kid in a 55-year-old body. And that's finding that balance is really important, but also because I have some reach and have done a lot of things, I feel like it's in a kind of a moral imperative and a responsibility maybe to, share the ugly stuff and be honest. And I think social media, when it's its very best, it's like the stories you tell of people. I mean, it's the very best when it's real and it's honest and people can relate to that. And it gives permission for others to do the same, I hope.
Yeah. And, you talked about striking a balance. And what is interesting to me is, you're a business owner. You understand that you have to make money with your business and provide for your family and all these kinds of things. But you have such a beautiful balance between that and making a difference. And you have shown by example that these things do not need to be mutually exclusive. So how do you go about doing that?
I always say to anybody that looks at my story and says, gosh, how are you managing the balance between purpose and profit? I always say I'm a capitalist in a tweed jacket because I like making money. I like giving it away too. But I say that, your dreams and your day job can coexist, and they should. And that means finding a job that is something that you really enjoy. And if you're not able to do that, then, go outside of your job and get involved in a nonprofit or an activity that you really enjoy and find joy in that. Or, if you look at your company that you work for, where, it's thank you for working number 4,221 and you're just a number. And maybe you can create something within the company, a wellness committee or something that drives what you're interested in. And I think companies are looking at initiatives around wellness and employee engagement, and they're looking for people to lead. And so I think that's important. Recently my company Brand Fuel just earned its B Corp certification. And so I think anyone who is working in the world of profit driven, but they're looking for a way or a path to get to a place of more purpose and meaning and value and being able to stand for things and DEI initiatives. And I could go on, employee engagement, attracting more customers, attracting better employees and talent. The B Corp world is fascinating to me. It basically is a people, planet, profit kind of initiative. When I look at it, it's like fair trade is to coffee, B Corp is to business. So if you look at the guiding principles of what a certification looks like, it's about taking care of employees and doing the right thing. It's about thinking about the environment and your impact to the environment. And then it's also about your supply chain. So thinking about the things that you bring into the marketplace to make sure that they're safe and that they are produced in safe factories and people are paid a fair wage. These are important things, like really important things. I don't want to sell something where there's slave labor behind it. I don't think anybody wants to. I also think it's about aligning with nonprofits that maybe are mission driven and connected to what your corporate or human values are. So if you're a tech company, maybe you want to help girls in STEM and find a nonprofit and align with them and turn an internship program into your business to invest in those organizations that are aligned with what you do in business. So I'm a Libra. That means I've got the balance, the scales, and And so maybe there's some of that, but I've worked really hard at trying to find things that, allow me to sleep well at night, and to bring good people into my business, and to sell to companies that are generous and care. And so finding like-minded companies. And so some of that's marketing fluff, but marketing is not just about fluff and promotion. It's about participation. It's about doing the work. And so we've done the work, and we're continuing to do the work, and we're on a very hard, I think, but important journey that will allow this company, but also myself and Robert Fivash, my business partner, and everybody who works here, to be a part of something that I hope is the stuff of legacy.
Let me ask you this, and it might be a chicken and egg kind of question. Do you believe that if you do what you love, the money will come? Or do you believe that once you make your money, that's when you can turn around and go back and do something that matters?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have an answer, to be honest. I mean, I could riff on it a little bit. What I know now, that I think we realize when we get older, is that, money is important, but it can be the root of evil, and, driver of things that are not important in this life. So, I mean, if I had to pick one, I think you do the thing you love and the money comes, but maybe the money doesn't come, but you do the thing that you love.
Did you seek out a B Corp status, or was that just something that you realized existed and then you worked toward it, or how did that come about for you?
Yeah, I think the B Corporation movement, there are a little bit over 5,000 companies globally, 2,000 companies in the US and Canada that have earned this certification. Companies like Ben & Jerry's and Allbirds, New Belgium Brewing. There's some really interesting B2C brands, B2B brands, especially companies like mine that could potentially sell plastic crap from China, with logos on it, which is not what we do. But, our industry has been known for that. That was actually one reason why we did it, was to try and kind of carve out a unique path of differentiation that was important to us. But the movement's been around for probably 15, 16 years. 12 years ago, we heard about it from some people in our area, and knew that we were invested in giving back, and there was some social entrepreneurialism in what we were doing. And so we looked into it, and we decided to apply. This was about 12 years ago, and we failed miserably. And so there's kind of a couple points here. If you are interested at all, even though it's a very heavy lift to go through the process, It's free. You go to B Labs. There's a third-party organization that helps guide you around these principles of using your business as a force for good. You'll learn a lot about your business and where you have weak points. For us, our weakest point was in sourcing. So getting products from China that were cheap plastic crap. We didn't know where they were being made, if they were safe. We had no idea. And years ago, we just didn't have access to that information. So over the past 12 years, we have invested in one, responsible sourcing, and two, investing in being advocates in our industry for transparency. PPAI is a sort of an umbrella nonprofit in our industry that has really worked hard to do that. So I joined the board. I fought the good fight there, and now you have access into where a product has been made, who's made it, is it safe, of the right materials. There's product testing before it makes its way to decorators in the US and ultimately to end users. So we sought that out, and over the past 10 years before we reapplied, we worked extremely hard at the principles that B Corporation and B Labs feature to really find out what we are made of. And there's certain areas we have got a lot of work to do, and there's certain areas we do great with. But it's a business education that you don't normally get. It's worth kind of trying to go through the motions in the application process, like I mentioned before. If for no other reason, even if you don't get earning the designation of a B certified corporation, even if you don't get it, you will learn things about how you run your business and where the opportunities are to run a stronger, healthier business that will drive not only purpose, but ultimately, I think, profit.
Mm. And you threw out in there, kind of glazed over it, that you were on the board. And it seems like you're on the board or have your hand in so many things. So what determines for you a project that you are going to get involved in versus not?
I do say no to a lot of things. And I think trying to understand what my strengths are, and I've done the strengths finders, and I've done all kinds of personality tests, and I know that my strengths are in philanthropy and marketing, and I have a good idea around music and putting on events and things like that, and certainly family. So I think of those things that are mission driven, they need to align. I need to feel something, even if the people in the boardroom. I've had some opportunities to be in some really nice, high-powered boardrooms with people that I would love to get to know and hang out with, but I didn't feel comfortable. And some of that's the complex that we all get, imposter syndrome. I'm sure I could do fine, but I'm trying to really stay focused. And I think you and I've talked before. You've asked me to be involved in a lot of things. I'm always trying to tap the brakes and say no, as much as I can, to be really focused. There's so many things in this world that I'm interested in, though it's hard. And so I made a commitment, not just to myself, but to my family, to if I take on another thing, I need to drop something off. And so trying to create, again, going back to balance in my life. I think for other people who are listening to this, make sure that it's mission driven. You've got the skills where you can learn and grow and develop. But I always talk about work, wealth, and wisdom, or time, treasure, and talent in the boardroom. And if you can bring at least 2 of the 3 of those things to the boardroom, then sign up. And if you bring 3 of the 3 of those things in, then you're a rock star. But more importantly, if you get busy and you're going through something hard in life, healthcare, or a divorce, or whatever is hard in your life, or work is sucking the life out of you, you can't commit to that nonprofit or be involved in that activity, raise your hand and tap out. And that is how you honor the organization, not by sitting and taking a board seat and wasting that seat so that it's not productive. People will respect you more, and you will not feel that consummate guilt that I think so many feel when they're not active in those situations.
Yeah. And let's talk for a brief moment about 2 of my favorite projects that you are involved in. We'll take them one by one. Talk to us about Band Together and what that is and how that came about.
Yeah, this is a 9/11 story. I was with some friends watching reruns on TV of the Twin Towers going down and people jumping to their deaths. It's funny, I could get choked up like talking about it right now, because there's something in that moment that, the what's mine to do in that moment is really important to realize. Like, I think we all have a story. Most of us have a story about where we were when Kennedy was shot, or the Twin Towers came down, whatever it may be. I think we all have to ask ourselves what's ours to do in that moment. And we did not become what I call slacktivists, which would be someone who just checks a like box on Facebook. We became activists in that moment, and we decided to do something for these families who had, firefighters had gone in and risked their lives to save these people, people we didn't know, but just can imagine. And these families now are living in a really tough place without their loved one, and pensions and things like that aside, we thought we should do something. And so we rallied and grabbed a larger group of business leaders in the Triangle area to raise money for those families. And there was no nonprofit at the time that was set up. And the first thought was, we should have a wine tasting, bring our friends together and charge a couple $100 a person. And I thought, my brain goes big. I'm like, well, that's not very much money because we don't have that many friends. And so I said, why don't we invite the whole community, and we'll bring firefighters in as our guests. We'll call it Band Together for our heroes. We'll band together and we'll bring bands to the event. And so it was a concert event that we ran 3 weeks after 9/11. We raised $60,000, mostly through corporate sponsorships. we had firefighters come down and spoke on stage about their experience and the trauma and the importance of what we were doing. And we built on that for 21 years now, and we're raising over $1 million every year for a different need in our industry, in our community. And so we are the marketing, fundraising, big concert producer arm that delivers big checks to the nonprofits that are doing the work on the front lines. We're a nonprofit as well, but we partner this year. We're working with Accessible Housing and raised a little bit over $1 million for 11 nonprofits doing that important work in our community. So this is about, I'll just say fun first. Like, this is music. We always say we're the organizational equivalent of a mullet haircut. We're business in front, which means fundraising and important causes and needs, and the party in back, the long, mullet tail haircut is the drinking some beers and listening to some music and building community. And when those things converge and kind of look at the Venn diagram, like whatever's right there in the middle, that's a sweet spot for a donor, someone who believes in what we're doing and wants to bring employees to a concert and raise money for a cause. And so, we've been at it for a long time. I just think we've only scratched the surface for what we can do. The concerts have been sold out the last few times. I think this can go bigger. I think this can go into other communities, a band together tour with the same bands, working on one central theme, partnering with nonprofits in those local communities. Not an easy thing to do, but one thing that I'd like to do is to start to find larger sponsors, that are writing bigger checks so that we can have, much more impact in our communities.
Yeah. And, what I love too is in all of the things that you do, you kind of see the need and fill it. And in whatever shape that takes, which then brings me to another project that I know that you are involved with, which I adore, and that's A Place at the Table. And if anybody doesn't know Maggie Kane, look her up. The woman is phenomenal. And she is the driving force behind A Place at the Table. But tell everybody a little bit more about Table.
Yeah. Well, first, shout outs to Maggie. I mean, I don't know. I think one day we'll see what happens in her life, but I know her really well. And I think she's destined for amazing things. She's got a Mother Teresa quality, a latter day Mother Teresa quality about her. She does things for all the right reasons. And I don't know how she finds the time to reach out to all these people and see how they're doing and show up. I could tell you so many stories that you'd be impressed with Maggie by, but she had a vision to not only feed hungry people in our community, but to provide dignity. So you could go to a soup kitchen and someone could slop some, leftover spaghetti on your plate and everybody eats the same thing. Or you could go to this nonprofit Pay What You Can cafe and you can walk in, and when you go there, when they take your order, they ask a couple questions. And one is, would you like to, pay the suggested price? Or would you like to pay it forward and pay a little bit more than the suggested price to help somebody in need? Or maybe you would volunteer for your meal. And I think as we think about that engagement, what we're saying to people who don't have the wherewithal to eat a meal, that they've chosen a meal that they want on the menu and it's being served to them. It's kind of it just gives someone a sense of pride and hope and confidence and love. And I always say there are more hugs per capita in that cafe than there is in any cafe around the world, because it is just a loving place where people who don't look like you and I will be sitting next to you and having a conversation, and also they don't have the wherewithal that we have. And so there's an opportunity to really realize what's important. And for me, getting involved in the front lines, serving food or washing dishes or volunteering with someone who is really having a tough time in their life and just hearing their story and maybe helping or connecting in some way, that's the frontline stuff that I love, that I'm not able to do at Band Together as much. Band Together is more creative and visionary and marketing and fundraising and live music and all that. This is like really getting down to brass tacks with what, incrementally and individually people in our community desperately need. And it's a community building space. And if you didn't know it was a nonprofit, a lot of people walk in there have no idea it's a nonprofit. It's a regular cafe and the food is amazing. I mean, it's so good. And so I think Maggie is stumbled upon something that I think is really special in our community. And I hope, we're same as Band Together. We're looking at, do we franchise it, and how do we do that properly? And this idea that maybe bigger isn't better right now, franchising and more money, raising more money, helping more people. But the idea that better is better. And so we're in this place where we are making sure that the model is proper and right and working operationally, and that we can do this in other communities. But it is, I enjoy meeting you there for a meal from time to time. It's like everything that is hard in your life, oftentimes like first world problems, you forget when you're there.
Yeah, it's definitely has such an air all its own.
Yeah, it's so true.
And I also, because we often think that the people that are in need and the people that are hungry, maybe somebody that slept under a bridge or something like that. But during the pandemic, when people were losing their jobs, that's where a lot of them went to know that they would be fed.
Yeah, the soup kitchens and the food shelters, and the distribution ended with most nonprofits. We decided as a board to keep the cafe open. It was a very important but very hard decision, somewhat contentious because it was not our mission. So we saw some mission creep. Or just the line of people, we saw 200 to 300 people every morning in the freezing cold sometimes it was extremely hot in the afternoon, people waiting for, cooked meals, warm meals that were cooked for them. And we went from a model of 80 or so percent of people who are paying the suggested price are paying it forward, and 20% of people who are getting free meals and assistance, to 97% of people getting free meals and assistance, and 3 people coming to the cafe because there was no cafe. And we struggled, and all our money was disappearing, and the community responded thankfully and helped out. And we got through it. But we cried. Maggie cried a lot. And I'm so glad she stuck with it, because her leadership during this time, the empathy that she showed, being there on the front lines, knowing what those people were struggling, for, and it was important for us to figure that out for the community. But we had an identity crisis. We became a soup kitchen for a couple of years.
Yeah. But I strongly urge anyone, if you are in the Raleigh area, go check it out. It's called A Place at the Table. It is, what's the address, Danny? Do you know?
It's on Hargett Street, and I should know it, but I don't. I'll tell you right now. I'll even show you something in my wallet. I always carry one of these. So the address is 300 West Hargett Street in downtown Raleigh. This is a Place at the Table card that I got a chance to work on this campaign. It's not really a magnetic stripe, but we got rid of this thing called the token. Just the idea of tokenism, where you get this token and you would provide it. Someone would give it to you. Maybe a homeless person on the street would get a token from a donor, and then they would come in and they would be identified as someone who maybe didn't have, food or, housing or whatever. They were down on their luck. So we created something that looks more like a credit card, but you can buy these, and the idea is to democratize this $10 value, for a meal type of giving instance, and that you can give it to the homeless person begging for money on the street, or you can make it as a stocking stuffer, or you can give it to your employees. Recognition. I carry one in my wallet just in case, I run into someone who's in need. But our staff will get these from time to time, and we want anybody to use these cards. And so you can go to the website and Table Raleigh and see what that's all about. An easy, low-lift thing to help others.
Love it. So if somebody gets nothing else out of this episode, Danny, what would you like them to get?
Oh, wow. I think people are coming out of the pandemic in particular. You know me, I'm an extrovert, and I think we've become to some extent more introverted and insular, and I think we keep to ourselves, and we're focused on, the next dollar bill. We're focused on our interpersonal relationships, the closest people around us, and I think all those things are important. I don't want to ever take anything away from that work, and those things are important. But I do want people to think outside of themselves. I would ask that they be willing to volunteer, be willing to start a wellness committee in their company, to to write a check to an organization that's in need, that matters to you, to really peel the layers back and what they're doing, and see how you can help. There's a lot of people struggling, and I think once we get out of our sort of insular way and maybe our selfish ways, once we start doing that, we start to feel a little more whole, a little more selfless, a little more connected to things beyond what's in our circles, and realizing what's important in this life. I mean, there's a war going on. We just took on a Ukrainian kid. He lives with us now, 18-year-old boy. My wife and I and daughters decided we would host, and this kid's been living with us for a month and a half. I mean, it's like, what's mine to do? That's the question that I think you should ask yourself. And I think once you do that, the stuff of real legacy happens. It's not about how big your bank account is. It is about helping those in need, and growing from that, finding love and joy, and certainly you could say spirituality. I'm not the most spiritual person in the world, but I think I find some of that when I'm doing this work.
With that, Danny, I just have 4 final questions for you.
Oh, 4 final questions.
First one, what is the best piece of advice you were ever given?
That's funny. Oh, I thought we were going into something else deeper. This is going to be like 4-hour long interview.
No.
This is a funny one. This is an inside joke. We put this on some merch at Brand Fuel. Half the people loved it and half the people rolled their eyes at me. But the quote is, find the poem in every moment, that I use. I think it's just great advice there. I think every moment has a duty. And when I think about that, it's like we have to find the destiny in these moments. Like, for me, finding the joy in things is what I try to do, even sometimes when it's really hard. And on my LinkedIn profile, it says pathological optimist. People are like, oh, the guy's always optimistic. But I do. I fall in love with a lot of people I meet. I see the good in people. There's some great stuff in that, but I also, pathology is a disease, if you think about that. And so pathological optimism isn't always a good thing. You might miss on, your shit detector might not be very good. Mine is not. That's why I have my wife and my business partner. But just one other thing that's connected to advice, something my mom said that is in line with finding the poem in every moment, and that is to do all things with love. And she always taught me that. And she just, I would be in a fight with my wife, and she would just say, remember, you can fight lovingly. And I try to remember that when we get into arguments.
Share with us one thing on your bucket list.
Oh gosh. So this one is Band Together related. I would love to run a major event to getting us over $50 million donated to nonprofits, doing the work of social impact with these concerts. I think it's possible to get there. The question is when. I want to get there faster, help more people. So, to be able to say that I was a part of starting something with some friends that raised $50 million that helped countless people I'll never meet just to have better lives. And I'd put my favorite bands on stage too, like those. All my favorite bands would be there.
When the toy companies finally get around to making an action figure of you, what 2 accessories will it come with?
Accessories. So I would have my figure have a megaphone and a big bag. And the megaphone would be for broadcasting all the amazing community-driven, fun and important things, events and activities that I do. It's kind of like a Pied Piper type of megaphone. Someone called me a cosmic glue stick the other day. I think the megaphone is related to that. The big bag would be for collecting all the money, the funds raised for these social causes and things that would improve our community.
Love it. And the last one, how do people find you and all of these wonderful causes that you're involved in? Yeah,
you can find me at any concert venue at the front of the stage. I'm not a tall person. You can look for the bald spot. I'll be at the front stage of any given concert, any given day. But you can find me on social. I'm on all the social channels, ROSIN. I think brandfuel.com probably get you there. And band together.
Thank you so very much for being here, Danny. You are easily one of my favorite people.
Oh, you're sweet. And I love talking to you. I get like embarrassed and a little bit uncomfortable sometimes doing these things, but you make it very easy. And the series that you've put together and the stories you tell, the people that you find, like, keep that up. I mean, it's so wonderful, the work that you do. You're so talented.
Oh, thank you so very much. Thank you for joining us. Once again, I'm Marlana Semenza, photographer and visual strategist. Please comment, like, or share this episode, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. For more information on how I can help you create your iconic image, visit marlanasemenza.com.